fifth match day of the CAF Champions League was fireworks, with no less than five clubs guaranteeing their place in the knockout stages. We're going to be recapping all of this weekend's action and more after the break on the African Five-a-Side podcast. Welcome to another episode of the African Football Roundup on the African Five-a-Side podcast. I'm your host, Maher Mizahi, and this podcast is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. Now, as you can tell, I'm in an airport today, so I apologize for all the hustle and bustle behind me or any announcements that you might hear, but I absolutely wanted to check in after a very fun round of the African Champions League. We're going to be reviewing match by match on this episode, and the matches are in order that they were played in, so if you're looking to jump ahead, you just check the order of the matches that were played in. You can know where you can find the match that you're looking for. If not, there's going to be timestamps in the comments below if you want to skip to a specific match. So we're going to start with Mouloudi of Algiers versus TP Mazembe. My headline for this match is job done for MC of Algiers. I had predicted a 2-1 victory for MC of Algiers. The result was actually just 1-0, but I managed to get that one right. And in the pre-match preview, I was talking a lot about MC of Algiers' lineup, like moving away from three strikers along the front line, instead using more natural wingers, and that's exactly what they did. But still, the problem of scoring from open play continues to plague the club from Algiers. They won 1-0, but they won 1-0 off of a penalty kick. They didn't create many chances. Most of the chances that created, like the one that comes to mind right now, is a Sofiane Beyazid shots from a distance. And Mazembe are not a side that's known for defending. They've conceded 7 goals in 5 matches. That's the third worst in the African Champions League. So despite the domination and possession of MC of Algiers, they were not creating any clear-cut chances. And that's one thing that does bother me. On the flip side, they're not conceding any goals. Another clean sheet for them. Only conceded 2 goals in the African Champions League. That's tied for best alongside Espérance de Tunis. But yeah, they won a penalty. Taib Miziani did, dispatched very calmly by Akram Bourras. I also spoke pre-match about the crowd and how much of a factor that would be. Honestly, I was expecting a little bit better. I've been to like derbies of Algiers where that crowd is world class. And this one, they were very good, but still not quite what I thought they would be. As for Mazembe, to be honest, I'm quite disappointed in them. They were a side that were supposed to be desperate coming into this match, but they didn't play like they were desperate. They had, they clearly have a personnel issue. I mean, we've talked about it time and time and time again. They let their best players go and they never replaced them. The one positive for me is that I found out about a 17-year-old kid, Bengali Benga, playing on the left wing. I thought he looked very sharp the way he was dribbling the ball. So that's a name that we can continue to look out for, like we did with Oscar Kabwit throughout this Champions League campaign. But still, when I go through their starting 11, I think they need one top-class striker, one top-class midfielder, especially a creative midfielder, and definitely a very good center half as well. So they're probably about 3 good players away from competing at the level they were competing at last year, or at the level they need to reach to compete in the final latter stages of this competition. So yeah, to be honest, not really impressed by either side, but MC of Algiers, what gives me optimism for them is that there's a margin of improvement. You know, this is only, I think, the second match in the CAF Champions League with their new coach, Khalid bin Yahya. So as he continues to stay, you expect their side to play better. Andy Delors coming back from injury. He's supposed to have quality. We haven't seen it yet in the CAF Champions League, but that's another reason for optimism. Maybe their Ivorian midfielder, Mohamed Zougarana, who I thought was their best player last season, maybe he can come back if he can recover in time, and that'd provide a boost to the midfield. The crowd can continue to get into it, and that could be instrumental in a two-way tie in the knockout stages. But all of that only if they don't lose in Tanzania in the final match of the group stages against Yanga. So there's a very important match for the sixth and final match day in Group A that will determine who will join Al Hilal in the knockout stages. Now, the second match that happened in match day 5 was Manama against Sundowns. And here the headline for me is Sundowns needed reassurance and they got it. I predicted a 1-1 result, and the result was actually 1-2. Sundowns pulled off a final stoppage time winner at the very last second. And for me, straight from the offset, this match was tactically fascinating because Sundowns were playing a narrow 4-3-3 and Manyama were more of a wide 3-5-2. And I just wanted to see which formation would get the better of the other. And actually, the sides played to the strengths of their formation. So as Manyama were a little wider, they were using that to provide a lot of crosses, and any chances they had in the first 30 minutes were crosses to their big striker, Joseph Jafte Kitambala, a player who I spoke about in the preview, and I said, be careful for this guy. You need to get a body on him because he can threaten you from the aerial duels, and that's exactly what he did initially. And Sundown's chances they came more from like through balls that were breaking through this kind of weird high line that Manyama were playing, even though they were playing with five defenders. And it was mostly Arthur Salles or Ikram Rainers breaking that offside line, and Ribeiro mostly dropping deep to play those through balls, although Allende, I think, also played one. So yeah, it was really interesting clash of styles. And then in the first half, Manyama breakthrough, and it's that man again, Kitambala, overpowering Grant Kakana on a turn, but he's like 50 yards away from goal. And he's the kind of striker that's better in the box than outside of the box. I'm not expecting him to dribble 50 yards and score. And that's exactly what he did. He just like somehow lumbering down the pitch, holding off Thibaut Mokoena with one arm, and finishes near post. And conventional wisdom is, as a goalkeeper, always protect your near post. And so I think conventional wisdom would point the blame at Ronwen Williams, but I don't know. I've seen more and more, attacking players do very well with near post finishes. Players like Bukayo Saka, Kylian Mbappe, and so I don't always blame the goalkeeper on that. I thought it was a difficult one to stop because he hit it, I think, with his toe at such close range that I don't think Ronwen could have saved it anyways. I thought Sundowns showed good urgency in the second half and wanting to equalize, and really, I think it's just time to appreciate Peter Shalulili that time in the podcast. For the first goal, they take a quick corner kick, and it's just the intelligence of movement. If you watch him like throughout the entire sequence. Um, First of all, he makes a before the corner kick, before the ball is cleared out for a corner kick, he makes a run. And then there's supposed to be a shot on goal. The shot is deflected and it goes out for a corner kick. As the shot is taken, Shalulile is like running in for a rebound as well. So he's making the run into space to try and instead of a shot, if a pass was coming, he would have been on the end of that. Pass doesn't come. It's a shot. He goes for the rebound. So very intelligent, perfect movement so far. Walks back into the 6 yard box as the corner kick is being taken. Looks up, sees that the cross is coming in. Raises his hand up even before. Um, I forget who crossed the ball. It wasn't. Was it Mokoena? Tabo Mokoena? I don't think it was, but whoever crossed the ball before they even received the ball, maybe it was Marcelo Allende. He has his hand up, and he does that movement that all the best strikers do, where they're like shifting, and then skipping, and then drifting behind. Where it kept him onside because there was another player, I think it was Ribeiro, that was offside because he wasn't making that movement. He wasn't drifting back with the defense as they're pushing out. So yeah, just great intelligence. The movement throughout the sequence was beautiful, and then the finish as well. Just no power in the header, just nods it right into the bottom corner, and Sundowns equalize. And it's that movement that creates a second goal again. This time it is Allende, I think, that touches the ball. And Peter Shalou, the same thing. He has his hand up before Allende gives him the crossfield ball. Great touch as well, and then forces an own goal. So, I mean, just wanted to give him a moment of appreciation because he's had moments in the CAF Champions League where he's missed sitters. I'm thinking of the matches against Wydad a couple years back. Um, but when he's playing with confidence like this, you have to give him at least 30, 40 minutes per match. I know he's getting on in his career, but you can't, especially when you're chasing goals, when Sundowns throughout the first half were getting behind the defensive line of Manyama. I thought it was a very good move to put Shalulile on because he excels at that kind of thing, as he's proven with the intelligence of his movement and then the coolness in front of goal. So yeah, great win away from home for Mamelodi Sundowns. And now they have a match, the final match of the group stages against Asfar Rabat, I believe at home for first place in the group. So unfortunate for Menyama. I thought they were actually a very good side throughout this group stages. They were competitive. They pushed sides. They were organized, but they just didn't have the quality that Sundowns or the Moroccan sides had. So yeah, great win for Sundowns. The third match that we're going to talk about is Sagrada Esperança versus Pyramids. I didn't watch this match. I did watch the highlights package though. My prediction was 1-1, and it actually finished 1-0 to Pyramids. Um, the only thing I would say is when I was watching the highlights, look at the goal scoring opportunities for Pyramids. Go and watch the extended highlights of 10 minutes or so. almost every goal scoring opportunity is preceded by with 5 or 6 passes and constructing build up play. And they have those overlapping fullbacks. They have the creative wingers like Ibrahim Adel or Mustafa Fathi. So important in that role. They do such a good job of utilizing their width and creating chances from open play, unlike Mouloudia of Algiers and maybe unlike the Moroccan side, so we're going to talk about a little bit later. So yeah, pyramids. I really like what they do in their, in basketball, they call it half court offense. It's when the defense is set and you're set and you have to break them down. We're not talking about transition play. When pyramids are in that position, they can still break you down very, very well. So I like what they've done there. I like the fact that they beat Esperance in the last match day, and now there's like a last final match day showdown. They have to better Esperance's result to finish first in the group, but I don't think they will. I think Esperance has the advantage in the head-to-head, and they've scored more goals as well. So I think Esperance is going to finish first in that group. Stade d'Abidjan versus Al Ahly. My headline here is put some respect on Al Ahly because I was doubting them prior to this match. I said, are the wheels falling off? Is this the beginning of the end? I predicted a 2-2 scoreline, which to be honest, even as I was predicting it, I felt wrong. But like I shouldn't have predicted that. But the match finished 1-3. Um, Stade d'Abidjan scored first, and I think went into halftime winning 1-0. But the second half was the Imam Ashur show. And to be honest, Imam Ashur is a player that I'm not a big fan of. He came with the $3 million price tag. Whenever I've watched him, he tends to have attitude. He can act like a brat on the pitch. He's like very immature at times. Even like he's had incidents off the field, like beat coming up with friends and beating up a security guard at a shopping mall. I thought in big matches, I don't think he's showed up when it matters. And to be fair, like this opinion that I have differs from a lot of other, African experts or CAF Champions League aficionados who do believe in him and who do think he's a great player. Um, I thought he's just flashed here and there, but I've never seen him have this kind of performance, which is what I was expecting more and more and more in the CAF Champions League. Wearing that famous number 22 of Al Ahly, he comes up with 3 goals that I think, Abu Trika would be proud of. 3 different crucial goals. The first one is like a sort of fox in the box thing, as Wissam Abu Ali, the striker, is nodding the ball across the face of goal, and he just gets a toe on it. Beautiful. Second one is a diving header, and then the third one is a powerful strike. All 3 goals in the box. And when he has Akram Tawfiq and Marwan Atiyah behind him, and he has the freedom to sort of linger around the the target man, Wissam Abu Ali, I think that's when he's in his best role. You see, it's kind of like trying to think of like the pro, like those animals that like leash onto the whales. They're like, I don't know what they are. They're like seashells or something like that, or other fish or something like that. You're just waiting in and around the target man, waiting for the scraps, and usually good things happen. You'll be rewarded in that situation because uh, the second ball is always crucial, especially in the box. And if you can have a player that's like Wissam Abu Ali, winning everything or at least contesting everything in the box, then if you have another player like Imam Ashur that can come up and clean the garbage, I think that's a very, very valuable addition to the team. So yeah, um, still this is a weak Stade Abidjan side, so I don't want to take too much out of this. They have the worst defensive record in the CAF Champions League. They've conceded 12 goals in 5 matches. I think I'm going to continue to doubt Al Ahly a little bit to my own detriment. And yeah, they look forward to now hosting Orlando Pirates in a match that doesn't mean much, but at the same time, perhaps might mean a lot too, because it's almost like one of those things where it's like, are you trying to put across a message here, like show your strength, even though they're both qualified. Next, we had the Moroccan Classico, as for Rabat versus Raja Casablanca. I predicted a 1-1. The result was a 1-1. My headline is expected. It was a great atmosphere in Meknes. It felt like a cauldron watching from the television. Before the match, I had suspicions that Asfar Rabat were actually the better side, and they certainly seemed like the better side in the first half in particular. And a player that I don't think we've shown enough love to on this podcast is Amin Zahzouh, the number 10, who played as a sort of left winger, but is a very creative player as well. He was always like a highly touted youngster, came out of the academy, Mohammed Six, near the Saleh region. And last year he had 10 goals and 9 assists in 33 matches for the the armed forces of Rabat. And he was top notch again, particularly in the first half against Raja Casablanca. But ASFAR have quality all over the pitch. I really, the more I watch this team, the more I like them. I Aitwar Khan almost always makes the right decisions. Herimet is a good captain. It shows leadership. To Carnero brings so much as a left back. Um, so many good players all over the pitch that I really think they could go far in this competition, maybe a semifinal berth. Still, they were playing better in my opinion than Raja Casablanca in the first half, but nobody was dominating. And their first goal comes through a set piece. It's Zahzouh, the player who we just spoke about, with a corner kick, and it's just messy. Uh, Bad clearance from I think Belamri, the Raja left back, and Anas Niti, the goalkeeper, scores an own goal. Well, Raja made some good substitutions after half, bringing on Ayoub El Mamouri, and he was, I thought, the most dangerous player for the Green Eagles in the second half. He won the penalty that Nofil Zerhouni converted and peppered the Rabati goal with a few long shots. Still, neither of these teams scored from open play, and that's been a problem, as I mentioned. Like MC of Algiers has been a problem for them. And so the 1-1 draw wasn't good enough for Raja. They're eliminated now as Mamelodi Sundowns won, as Farabat go through. But it was a very enjoyable match. That's my main thing. It was a very intense, enjoyable match. It's one of those matches where at the end of the match, the players are just sort of like laying on the floor, uh, almost almost crying if they lost or thanking the Lord above if they won. Um, but I just wonder again about Rabat's ability to score goals from open play. That's something that we're going to have to continue to monitor going ahead. Now, talk about the match that this was the one match that where I locked myself in the room and I told my family nobody talked to me, nobody bothered me was Orlando Pirates versus Sierra Belouizdad. Because I predicted a 2-1 result for Pirates and it did finish 2-1. So here I was spot on. And my headline for this is outclassed everywhere. I was expecting Pirates to be the better side at home. I was expecting them to get this victory. Tough victory, but I wasn't expecting them to dominate the way that they did. And I listened to the post-match press conference from Jose Rivero, and he didn't want to talk about like the last match against the Ahly or the PSL. He just wanted to enjoy the moment and celebrate it, and I think that was appropriate because it almost feels like a milestone for Pirates. Because since the coach's arrival, two and a half years ago, they're probably building to moments like this. And when you finally hit moments like this, you have to take the time to breathe and celebrate, the good things that you've done. But Pirates were better everywhere. Tactically, they were miles ahead of Sierra Belouizdad. Technically, miles ahead of Sierra Belouizdad. And they were having fun. Patrick Masongani just showboating, in the final 10 minutes. I loved it, but I was just worried that the Algerian players are going to try to take out his legs or something like that. Um, Pirates are playing elite football at the moment, and you can see the team chemistry just watching them play. Um, they know like they're almost playing without thinking, like it's like when you play with a really good friend or a brother or something, and you've played with each other so much that you know what he's going to do before he does it, and as a result, there's a fluidity and a speed to how they play their football that is very, very rare. That I think everybody should savor for as long as possible. Tactically speaking, I have a few notes about the Algerian side, Sierra Belouizdad. Playing a double pivot away from home here, for me, should have been playing with three midfielders and with no real defensive midfielder because Hussein Selmi was supposed to be playing that position. But for me, he's more of a shuttling player, and Benguit, the other midfielder, is more a creative player in the double pivot. I would have liked to see, for example, Jacques Mbe in that position. And to exacerbate matters, Selmi had a very bad game, very sloppy, and he's the one that gave the ball away for the first goal. I think Mabasa hits it. And it was really good that Mabasa didn't hesitate to shoot. But what I was more impressed with was Mofo King's instincts to follow that shot. These are very good habits to have as a young player. When there's a shot, follow it. Even if you're only, it's the ball's ever going to come to you maybe once every 10 or once every 15 times off of the long shot. Get into the habit of following those shots because over the course of a career, that's going to end up with, 20, 30 goals just by not being lazy. And so I loved Mofo King's attitude there, and he was duly rewarded for following in the rebound. And the second goal was the same thing. Like Sierra Belouizdad's double pivot was completely out of shape. Some of the attacking players were not tracking back. Mabata finds himself in loads of space and just leathers the ball. And that's, for me, the goal of the round. Um, Beautiful strike from a player that I really think is really good, even though I didn't think he had his best game against the Algerians. But very, very good box to box midfielder Talente Mbata is, and I'm very much looking forward to watching him play some more. I thought Dion Hoto was great on both sides of the pitch, starting on the left and then moving on over to the right. Mofokeng and Nkota, in my opinion, top players. Tito is perfect behind the striker. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Um, I don't want to see him play on the wings. I don't want to see him play as a false nine. When Pirates dominate possession at home, he's just like again the perfect player to have his vision, his passing, his leadership. It's all great. And then I also thought Van Rooyen, the right back, and Machaula also had good games, the defensive midfielder. So yeah, I didn't see the Serie B goal live. Like my stream cut out at the 90th minute or something. I thought the match finished 2-0, but I did go back and I saw that Serie Belouizdad scored in stoppage time, and it was another goal that Orlando Pirates conceded on a set piece. Not reading too much into it because it's the final minutes after, this great performance and maybe the players were relaxing a little bit when they shouldn't have been, but it's another goal that's conceded on a set piece. I'm repeating myself. And that's it's not been a problem for Pirates, but it's something to keep in mind now because they've conceded a few of those now. So something to keep in mind and to fix in the future. The post-match press conference, I also listened to the Algerian coach. I thought it was quite rich of him to talk about the dark arts. He said he was disappointed in the referee because the ball boys were not giving the ball back, and it was assistant coach that was chasing all over the place. That there was a lot of, not cheating, but like basically that Orlando Pirates were practicing the dark arts, and he wasn't happy about that. And he said we never use these techniques in Algiers. I thought that was very, as an Algerian, as somebody that comes from North African football, I thought that was very, very rich of him. Like it's one thing to use them, just use them, and in my opinion, just like that's part of the game. Like don't do. I know you do it. I watch you every week. Don't do it and then pretend you don't do it. That's I thought that was a bit hypocritical. But anyways, they clearly came with the mentality of trying to get a draw, in my opinion, which was even more confusing why they played that double pivot and didn't have as disciplined shape. He said like when they went down one goal, the coach Amrani said that they just were trying to equalize, but take it easy, make sure they didn't concede another, and that didn't work obviously as Mbata's goal put a sword to the game. But overall, just my final point about this match, as an Algerian, I just think Algerian football has to catch up because when I watch sides like Pirates, Sundowns, El Ahly, definitely, um, even other sides like Yanga and stuff like that, like they do things that we don't do in Algerian football. That's like part of modern football. I know I was criticizing Sundowns about this like last week, but playing the ball out, you can pick it when you do it, and when you clearly are struggling to do it, you can stop. But like some of these Algerian defenders, Shoaib Cadet in particular, so the distribution was shocking from the center back position and from the goalkeeper position as well. Basic passes that they weren't able to make, under pressure. Um, you know, uh, Putting in place an organized press. As a part and parcel of modern football, working on set pieces so that, it's not just hoof the ball up and hope one of your center halves gets ahead on it. Again, part of modern football. These are all things that are like the ABCs, but we seem to be probably 10 years behind other clubs when it comes to that. So if Algerian football is serious about competing at the highest level, because our clubs are doing well in the CAF Confederations Cup, they're doing okay. MC of Algiers obviously has a chance to go through the knockout stages in the CAF Champions League. But when we talk about the very highest levels, the top 3 to 5 clubs in African football, Algerian clubs need to do better. And I think it starts with coaching. They need to get better coaches in. Um, Second last match was Joli B versus Espérance. My headline here was expected. I expected Esperance to win. I actually predicted them to win by 2 goals. They only won by 1 goal. The question now is, will seeding matter? Because they're going up against Pyramids, and like I said, Pyramids have to better Esperance's result to finish first in the group. Will the clubs care about that? Probably not. But I think Esperance put Joli out of their misery. Esperance, by the way, have the best defensive record in the CAF Champions League, as I mentioned, with Mouloudi of Algiers. They made a few changes this time around. They're starting the veteran goalkeeper Bashir bin Said instead of their Amanullah Menouche, the young goalkeeper that was supposed to be a star, but he hasn't really been himself for the last 6 months or so. So I think the move to bin Said was a brave one, but I think it was the right one. The center half that I had so much doubts about, Hamza Jalasi, the person who's replacing Yassine Mariah, the club captain, who's out with knee ligament injury. I had so many doubts about Hamza Jalasi. I thought they absolutely had to sign a center half in the January window, but he's really coming along as a center half. He has having like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 matches, and consecutively. Ben Ali is coming along as a right back. Yusuf Belaili as a false nine in this match, and then moving on to the left was really good as well. But even though it was just Joli B, I'm liking Espérance de Tunis more and more. The complementary style of their players is what I really, really like. Roger Aoulou, the Togolese, tall defensive midfielder, is not like the Nigerian central midfielder Ogubelu, who's not like Yusuf Belali, who's not like Elias Mokoena, who's not like Kosema Asha, who's not like Yensas, who's not like Rodrigo Rodriguez. They're all very different and they complement each other very well. And just as gave a love letter to Peter Shalulile earlier on, I think we should do the same to Elias Mokoena. Again, a player that I've known for less than a year now, but his running is such a weapon. And first of all, I love his style. Both players, tucking their shorts high up to the belly button. Uh, but his running is he never gives up on anything. Um, just looking for scraps, kind of like what I was talking about, what Mofokeng has to do, but always in the right place at the right time. Very generous with his effort. And that's why he's going to score minimum 6, 7 goals per year, but probably closer to 10 to 12 per year. So he's a player that I think even Bafana cannot really not use. His running is absolutely essential if you want to press or if you're looking for a goal or whatever you want to do. I don't think he's the best technical player out there, especially when you compare him to like a Tito or you compare him to a Belali or something like that, uh, or even like a Mofokeng or something. But man, his running is absolutely elite, and off the ball, he's a big weapon, and that's how he got his goal again this time, getting on the end of a loose cross that was like way in the sky, and he just gets on the end of it and scores. Finally, El Hilal versus Yanga. I didn't watch this match, but my headline is Yanga refusing to die. I thought they would draw this match 2-2, but Yanga actually win 1-0. Just keep winning these matches, tight margins, and they're slowly but surely in a position now to qualify for the knockout stages. So I didn't watch this match, but from people that did, I highly value Salim Masoud Said's input. I was on his Twitter and he was saying, that this match, two players in particular stepped up, Stefan Aziski and Khalid Aucho. Um, and Khalid Aucho. So for me, it's good that, some of your most experienced players are the ones leading the charge. That's a very, very good sign. And Stefan Aziski, by the way, scores the goal from a distance, hits a beautiful strike from 30 yards. That was one where initially I was critical of El Hilal because you cannot give Stefan Aziski that much space from that distance because he's gonna hurt you. Whether he's gonna slot in a beautiful through ball or he's gonna strike the ball from and put it on target. His left foot is too good. But at the same time, when I saw how the action unfolded when I was watching the highlights, it was one of those where it's like bing bang boom, and all of a sudden he has the ball in space. It's like it wasn't one of those where it was like easily constructed. It took like 10 passes from Yanga and it was slowly constructed and then he found himself in that position. It was one of those where there was like a battle for the ball in midfield. It was bouncing around, kind of pinballing around, and then he found himself in space. But still, Kadim Ndiaye, the left back, um, he was close to Aziz Ki. He could have shut him off. But then there was an overlapping run and he decided to follow the opening run. Then Gasuma Fofana, the Mauritanian midfielder, same thing. He could have stepped up, but there were players behind him and he was hesitating in sort of no man's land. And Aziz Ki punished them from 30 yards out. So it's one of those where I'm not really blaming the El Hilal players here because there are certain players, once they're in that position, think about Arjen Robben, on the side of that box or at the corner of the 18-yard box, bearing in on your left back. You know he's gonna cut in and shoot, but you can't do anything about it. The key thing is to keep them from being in that position. But like I said, the ball was pinballing around, so you can't really blame them there. Khalid Ocho was huge in organizing apparently the Yanga midfield. Um, I saw that Jiggy Diarra also had a beautiful pass to Prince Dube in the 70th minute, almost catching out Issa Fofana. So when I'm talking about Jiggy Diarra, Khalid Aucho, Stefan Aziski, talking about, again, some of the most experienced leaders of Yanga. So the fact that they're the ones that are stepping up, they're the ones that are featured in the highlight packages, that's a very, very good sign in my opinion. I still saw Al Hilal had a few goal scoring chances, and it's came from that three of Jean-Claude Guiro the Burundi winger, Adama Koulibaly, the Malian winger, and then the number 10 is Eme Tendeng from Senegal. And I was thinking to myself, man, these guys are really good, this attacking midfield three. And then I was thinking, who's better, them or the Pirates one? Like, would you rather have Mofokeng or Giru Mugisha? Would you rather have Eme Tendeng or Patrick Masongani? Would you rather have Nkota slash Seleng or Adama Koulibaly? That's like one of those where I'm like, ooh, that's tight. That's very, very tight. I think almost individually I might prefer the Al Hilal players, but as a collective, you could tell like Nkota and Mofokeng and Tito, they play so well together. And so I think as a collective, I'd rather have the Pirates players. But it's a very tight one, 50-50. Yeah, the last question really for, and then we're gonna end this podcast is what's Al Hilal's motivation going forward? Doesn't matter really actually because Yanga are playing MCF Algiers and now Yanga at home in Dar es Salaam, 2 p.m. kickoff or some South Africa 3 p.m. kickoff since you guys always bother me about that. Um, in the heat in Dar es Salaam, Benjamin Mkapa is going to be loud, packed. Yanga have to beat MCF Algiers, who have the best defense in the CAF Champions League alongside Espérance Tunis. Only conceded 2 goals. It's going to be a beautiful game. That one is going to be one where in Algeria, it's very misogynistic language, but they'll say like not misogynistic, but it's very chauvinistic language. They'll say it's a man's game. You know, this is like where men are men. Like throw the tactics out, throw the everything out, throw the refereeing decisions out. This is about stepping up and taking your responsibility when it's asked of you. So yeah, looking forward to next week's matches. I think it's going to be a drama-filled day. I'm mostly going to pay attention to the ones where there's everything on the line. And yeah, we'll preview them and recap them as we always do. I'm also going to be speaking about Eric Shell's appointment as manager of Nigeria, if that's a good decision or a bad decision in the coming days. So keep a lookout for that. And yeah, other than that, keep it locked in on the African Five-A-Side podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. Apologize again for all the noise and all the commotion behind me at this airport. Take care, all. Peace.